So you had mentioned something in the beginning when you were talking about the best and the wrong times to run a design sprint. Can you
Yeah.
tell us a bit about like when's a great time to run one, when's maybe not the right time?
Let's start with not the right time. So not the right time is you don't have a decider. I definitely ran a few sprints where the decider had a proxy, and the decider didn't actually see eye to eye. It wasn't, the decider should have been there. And it was just a flop. And it's just such a, you're getting people in a room for a week. That's a lot of valuable time. That's a lot of team morale. That's why these are great tools for building culture, for getting teams to work together. But when a decider's not in the room and like says, I don't like any of these concepts, like that was terrible. That's not a great experience for anybody. So the decider has to be in the room. Otherwise it's not a design sprint. Sometimes teams will run a design sprint if the project is way too big and maybe you should break it down. It should be like multiple design sprints, or the project's way too small and maybe it should be a different type of session. It could be a working session. It could be, there's other tools in the toolbox. There's something called Design Studio, which is like a rapid drawing exercise. There's Lightning Decision Jam, which is another AJ and Smart workshopping tool. That's another book that I think I have in a box behind me. Yeah, I still have so knowing when to use that tool is really appropriate. And then if you have like 15 people, okay, so it's again, maybe it's a different type of workshop, but it's not a design sprint. Call it, use it when it's appropriate. So a good time to start a design sprint. If you're stuck, like you were talking before, like you're just spinning your wheels with a project. Maybe it's like, hey, maybe we should pause, see if this is a design sprint, see if that's a new way of invigorating different ideas. If you're just kicking a project off, that's a great time to do a design sprint. Those are my best two times of like, this is not working, let's do a design sprint, or like, this is a brand new project, let's kick it off with a design sprint.
Right on. And so most of the design sprints that you do you kind of have a specific problem that you're trying to solve, or is it a little more open-ended where you're kind of looking to find the right problem to tackle?
If you're looking to find the right problem to tackle, I would probably do a Lightning Decision Jam, because that'll give you a better breath. And those are also shorter. Those are like under 2 hours and can involve more people. So it's a great time for that exploratory work. The Lightning Decision Jam, the recommendation could be, hey, now we have an idea for design sprint. Let's choose those, 6 to 8 people and pick a week and just do it.
Right on. And so, oh, sorry. So didn't mean to cut you off there. But you mentioned something really interesting there, which was the aspect of time and how long these can take. And so to businesses, like a 5-day design sprint, getting, 7 to 8, high level people in the room, especially when you talk about the deciders and those folks, that becomes really expensive. How do you go about selling the idea of design sprints if it's a new idea in your organization?
Right. Have you ever looked at the cost of bad design?
That's a good one.
Yeah, no, but it's true. You can take months and months and months to go back and forth and this and that. But when you have that decider in the room, especially if you coach the decider and like, this is what you're going to need to do, and they have clear expectations of their role, which is very important. I would meet with deciders like a week or two and tell them, hey, you're going to be asked to make decisions. You're going to be time boxed. This is what's expected of you. You can move very quickly. Very, very quickly. And it would take months and months of people being like 10% on a project or 20%, like get everybody in a room, jam on it and get in front of customers. You're going to know what to do next. It really makes a big difference.
Yeah, fantastic. And so now you've done one design sprint, you've proven to everybody that this is awesome. Could you maybe talk a little bit about how the full process you kind of took to scale design sprints at Prudential? Because I know it was kind of like a snowball effect. Like you did one, you showed it around, then you started doing more, and everybody got interested. If you
that's exactly what it was. It was like a snowball, grassroots. I really had great leadership who encouraged it. A lot of it was the timing was right. Maybe I wasn't in the customer office, which was where previously more of the design was happening. I was in like a separate group, which is funny because now we're all together. So I didn't have as many, it was just like a little bit easier for me to kind of get in front of people, I guess. And then we just started scaling it up. Just having that proof that it worked really helped it get going. And then realizing I can't do it myself and creating that training program that you and Brian helped me with to get that going really made a big difference. We also created a design sprint wiki. So it was a place to house all the documents. So people didn't have to like recreate the wheel. I had an email template. I have an agenda template. Like they have all the assets they need. They could just download and get going. Like people didn't even need to take the course. I could coach them too. They could read the book. There's so much content now that there wasn't 5 years ago. Like YouTube is a plethora of videos that you can watch and learn, and that just didn't exist.
Yeah, right on. And that's kind of how it worked for me. Was I read the book when you and Brian introduced me to design sprints on that project for kind of creating that training guide. And then I got to go through the training with you, which was awesome. And then I think on my first design sprint, my boss at the time had offered to co-facilitate it since she was very used to doing these. So she offered that. And that was, I feel like, the perfect introduction for me.
Yeah.
So I didn't have the kind of full weight of it on my shoulders, and I, had somebody to learn from and watch and grow. But it was a fantastic experience for me, and I loved it. I'm bringing it to the company I'm at now. We just had our first remote design sprint, and
that's awesome.
It was a huge success. I feel like the one problem I run into is now that we've done a design sprint, we've kind of identified 1,000 other things we want to tackle. And so I guess a lightning decision jam might be the next best decision.
Put it in the backlog, but yeah. But there's really a whole community of design sprinters. I've been able to reach out to other people in other companies and kind of create connections. I think Google does like a design sprint conference. It's never, I think at one point it was invitation only. Then I think it was last time was when I was on maternity leave. Like I've watched some of the recordings from it, but it's definitely like becoming like more of a community, even, outside of your individual companies. And there's more people to like learn from and read articles and watch videos and things like that. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.